on the agenda, we have, okay, thank you. Let's see. Next on the agenda, we have additions to the agenda. So does anybody have any additions to the agenda as we have it? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item number 3, and that's a presentation by Jennifer Castañeda, and she's the specialist of the self-determination program for the regional center of the East Bay. So welcome, Jennifer. Microphone is yours.
Thank you so much. And I hope that you can hear me.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
It's Marina, is it going to have the additional agenda first, or you put it at the end?
Well, on the second item, when I asked if there's any additions to the agenda, that's the time when if somebody has something they want added to the agenda, bring it up, and then we'll accommodate it in the agenda. Do you have anything?
That is from the ALN project. We want to just share with what we has accomplished at this point, give people an update. It's funded by the Disparity Fund.
So that can go under participant reports. Yeah.
Okay. Right. The item number 5, Esther, reports and updates.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none, then welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you again.
Provide us information about the self-determination program that we had talked about a little bit at our last diversity and equity meeting.
So that's precisely why I'm here by invitation, by your invitation. I spoke to Heido about a week ago, and he mentioned that self-determination did come up in discussions at this committee meeting, and so he asked me to just have you know, a quick presentation of what self-determination is, explain a little bit of what it is, how it's going, and what's working and what could use some more help in the program. And so essentially, self-determination program is a new way for our RCEB consumers to have their service needs met. And this happens by way of the participant taking control of what their supports and services are. Self-determination is different from what people are currently using right now, which is what we call our traditional model of accessing supports and services through our vendors. It's different because there's no requirement for vendors in self-determination. So someone could opt to choose and select their own supports and services, their own agency, their own programs, and they don't have the requirement that exists in traditional model of having that support be vendorized. Yes, Morena?
Jennifer, I sincerely apologize. I am sorry, guys. Heido is not here today, and I need to request if somebody's willing to take minutes notes for this meeting. Michi is recording the meeting, and so whoever volunteers can make use of that recording to write up the minutes. Do we have a volunteer? Okay, so no, that would be fine. I will go ahead and write up the minutes. You can continue, Jennifer. Thank you so much. I apologize.
Okay, no, that's okay. The traditional model, again, requires that a vendor is used in order to fund the supportive service. Self-determination does not. It does not have that requirement. And so people who have historically not been able to use a vendor in the traditional model can now open up and have a little bit more flexibility in self-determination by using a vendor that's outside of our vendor system. And so the self-determination program is right now limited to the regional center's catchment area of about 105 people. The
You froze, Jennifer.
today, but we know that it's going to be June or July of this year. And this is important because there's, yes, Morena, you might have clarity already. Okay. You're muted. You're
You-
muted.
Sorry, Jennifer, you froze for a few, maybe about a minute. So what I left off hearing what you were saying is the number of participants in the pilot from the regional center of the East Bay.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
we have, thank you. We have 165 people who have been selected by DDS to
For some reason, she keeps stopping at that point. It's 150 people selected to participate in the first part of self-determination for the pilot. So there's where I am, Jen.
Thank
You're-
you.
Yeah.
I turned off my video, maybe
Yeah.
that's slowing it down. So thank you, Lisa. This is expected to roll out to everyone in June or July of this year. And why this is important, and I think that it's great that it's coming up at this meeting, is because there are a couple of new elements in self-determination that were not in existence in traditional model. One of those elements is the development of an individual budget. So someone who opts to participate in the self-determination program and this service delivery model has an individual budget that is determined. That individual budget is based on previous 12-month expenditures in our traditional model. If they've been a consumer of regional center, and that budget can be adjusted for unmet need or change in circumstance. So for our consumers, this is a very critical element of the self-determination program because what they have to spend. Oh, okay. Okay. I just saw the chat. And so people have available to spend in their self-determination year what was established as their individual budget maximum. Now, if their individual budget maximum is doesn't reflect what the need is for the family, then the presumption is that then they'll have a harder time having their needs met in self-determination. Our regional center, I'm actually very glad to say that that we are hearing unmet need and change in circumstance on a case-by-case basis with each family who has each of the 150 families who were selected so far. And so we have been able to adjust the budget for those who have not been able to access traditional model services because of potential language barriers, because of potential availability in people's area for services, for providers, and things like that. We have right now 35 people who are in self-determination, and the breakdown is actually pretty pretty good representation of the percentage breakdown of the people that we serve in our traditional model. So the people who have transitioned and are right now being supported in the self-determination program is a good representation of the breakdown of people who are served in our traditional model. Part of what we are hearing from the self-determination program is that sometimes needs are not met in our traditional model. And so hearing about what some of those barriers are, so that we can address them at the individual budget phase of the self-determination program. So some of those barriers are language, and some of those barriers are general support that's required for the transition and self-determination. It's not just that it's a new program, it's a new program, a new service delivery method that is right now very complex. And it takes a lot of dedication to understand it. And it takes support, either paid or unpaid support from other people who might be familiar with the program. And so part of what we're doing to address that, and it's right now just limited to those who were selected, is that we created a new position with our local advisory committee for self-determination for SDP coaching. And SDP coaching provides a pretty intimate one-on-one support to the consumer or family. And actually, our most successful coach right now is a Spanish-speaking coach who we are funding through our advisory committee. But we also have support from Helping Hands, who is supporting our Cantonese and Vietnamese speaking consumers. And those have also been very successful in helping the families understand the process and helping them understand what it takes to transition from traditional model to self-determination model, and really providing them with some authority and empowerment to take control of their service needs. And so these are the supports that are in place right now for our families. I think when Heido and I spoke, one of the things that that presented in our discussion was the potential for just the systemic perpetuation of what some challenges are in traditional model that might roll over into self-determination. And some of those might be just the diversity in the cultural practices and customs and sometimes beliefs of our consumers. And so where some families are open to a loved one moving outside of the home, there's other cultures, there's other families who are very against it. They're not open to it. It's not something that they practice and believe in. And so that's one of the things where in traditional model, what is the support that exists for that family that then would help to inform the individual budget for self-determination. And so I think that part of the discussion in our collaboration is to to open up discussions to what are the barriers that exist in traditional model that might be present at the individual budget phase. And I think that, again, our regional center in particular, and our case managers have been very good at advocating for their families as far as unmet needs and any change in circumstances that might exist for the family. I think that families should be informed about how to advocate and communicate their needs. Sometimes we hear that a family didn't communicate something because they didn't know they had to, because they didn't know they should. And so it makes it difficult to then assess for a service because we didn't know about it before. And so I think part of the discussion that I hope we can have today is how families can be empowered to share what their needs are currently, and because that helps to inform what the individual budget is going to be in self-determination. And I don't know that the STP coaching, which again has been successful for our Spanish speaking, Cantonese and Vietnamese speaking families, is going to be available when this rolls out to everyone. It's something that our committee right now is attempting to address and establish. And so sort of looking at it as a scenario of what if it's no longer available? How are our families then going to be supported? How are they going to be empowered? And how are they going to take control of this process? And I think Arthur is sharing that we need coaching for everyone. And so I should say that our DDS is looking at providing a support of independent facilitation, which is a support that is similar to our STP coaching support. And they were actually, I think, introduced around the same time without our knowledge that the independent facilitator support was going to be available the way that it currently is. And so the independent facilitator is also a role that provides one-on-one support to the consumer to transition into self-determination. And so part of what our committee is trying to determine is if the STP coaching, as we call it, is going to continue, because there is the potential that the independent facilitator support continues. And because they're very similar supports, we then might look at repurposing funds for our committee for a different type of support. And so I do think that the support is going to be there. I think that we all at our committee can agree that the support has been very helpful, and it's when families again are the most empowered to take control of their services, when there is someone there coaching them and letting them know this is what the process and what the transition looks like. We just don't know if it's going to be.
Jen, can I interrupt 1 second?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so in the May revision to the governor's budget, there is new language and new monies to support people to transition into self-determination. And it has a few changes in that as well, but there is some support for additional people to support people to move into self-determination, some streamlining of some processes. But as we wait for that to be passed as part of the budget, and we wait for some information from DDS about their plan for self-determination starting on July 1st, 2021, we'll have more answers. So right now we're sort of in flux a little bit as this 3-year period is stopping, and DDS will be allowing other people to participate starting, it sounds like, in July. So sorry, Jen, I just want to.
No, thank you for clarifying.
And yeah, and one of the things when Jen talks about coaching, there were funds that were given to regional centers to be distributed under the guidance of their local advisory committees to support people to transition. And that's also something that's a little bit unclear on what's going to happen next year, but we do have some additional funds right now to expend. So anyway, just wanted to clarify that. Thanks, Jennifer.
We do know that we want the support to exist no matter what. We just essentially don't know what that support is going to be called at this point. But we do know and acknowledge that the support has been successful for a lot of our families and what was historically maybe underserved communities in self-determination. And so we are looking to bridge that gap. We just don't know what that is going to be called right now. And so I think that, again, discussions can be around how to empower families right now to express what their current needs are, so that we can address them appropriately when we are drafting the budget for self-determination once they're ready to transition into the program. Another thing that is a potential discussion topic is how do we support families that have not accessed services because of cultural differences, for example, that would then potentially limit the services that they have or the funding that they have in self-determination. And again, keeping in mind that our regional center has been very good about addressing change in circumstance or unmet need for all of our families. But this is a concern that has come up in discussions as well. Does anyone have any questions about the self-determination program?
I do.
Okay.
I want a little more information about the independent facilitator and the SDP coaching.
Okay, so again, our SDP coaching right now is only available to those who have been selected by DDS. And so our contracts right now are for our coaches to provide services to only those individuals. Once we know more information about what supports our committee is going to fund or DDS is going to fund, then I think we can make that available to everybody.
So at this point, DDS is funding it, correct?
DDS through a directive has allowed for regional centers to fund.
Okay.
And that is again limited to our to initial planning for those who have been selected. The independent facilitator. And independent facilitator is very similar to our SDP coaching, but both right now are limited to those who have been selected.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Oh, Esther just posted something in the chat. Hang on, I'll read it. Helping Hands East Bay is committed to providing free SDP coaching to Cantonese and Vietnamese speaking adult consumers and families until May 31st, 2022, because they have received another year of DDS Disparity Fund grants. So this would be available, Esther, once the rollout is open, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And we are very blessed to receive another round of actually our 4th year now receiving the DDS Reducing Disparity Grant, and now renamed to Service Access and Equity Grant. And under this grant, we are committed to provide free coaching to Cantonese speaking and Vietnamese speaking adults only, though, only adults, consumers living in Alameda County, to help them transition to self-determination program if that's their interest. Yes.
So, if I may say, I think, it might be a good idea if we as a committee and Jennifer can agree on kind of a mechanism to work together, since a lot of our focus of our committee and self-determination have a lot in common. And like the different barriers of language, ethnicity, and those are some of the barriers that I think Jennifer may be referring to, that may prevent regional center clients to want to participate in self-determination, just because they don't have the access, either because of the language or ethnicity, or just cultural barriers. So I think, I don't know what the committee thinks, if we can work together. Jennifer, I don't know if that would be something that's possible going forward, or as you deem appropriate.
Yeah, I think that would be great. And again, when Jairo and I spoke, we did see the potential for a lot of overlap between our program and your committee. And so I just saw another chat here from someone who says, with 0 POS for 44% ages 3 to 21 and 18% for 22 and over in the Hispanic community, according to our published data, shows that the need for change of circumstance and unmet need. And so this is precisely something that we address on a case-by-case basis. When we identify a service as being a need in traditional model, but maybe the case presents where the family or the consumer never accessed that service, and if that reason is for language barrier, maybe for providers around the person's area, that is something that we do address as an unmet need or a change in circumstance. I think another element, Morena, that you just brought up is that part of the self-determination program requires that a consumer and family really identifies what their supports are going to be in the program. And so they have to go out and look for a provider, look for an agency, look for a service potentially. And so if there is a language barrier that exists, it could limit what that person is able to access in their community for their own self-determination supports. And so that could be, I think, another point of discussion is how can we support those families, or how do we support those families when they're wanting to identify what their supports are, and may be limited by language, may be limited by maybe even internet access, and things like that.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any other questions for Jennifer? So Jennifer, I don't know, it's how do you think we can kind of contribute to each other's programs per se, as far as, since we have many or a few common areas of focus, how do you think we can collaborate?
I think that I don't know if this committee typically agrees or organizes in at these monthly meetings, or if you have part of what our advisory committee does is that of sort of work groups, and so we'll establish volunteers who are open to working together and meeting outside of our monthly meetings and brainstorming ideas about a particular project. But I do think that that we might have a better idea of how to collaborate on what supports and services are necessary, and that we could potentially provide once we know more about what the program is going to look like, and we hear more from DDS, hopefully.
And you expect that to happen more or less when, Jennifer?
That's an excellent question for Lisa. Actually, I do not personally know.
So, yeah, Jen, I'll just say, in the interest of time, the budget language for self-determination is out for moving forward. We expect that to be voted on by the legislature in the middle of June, and any other language about it to be put out by the department sometime in the coming month. And it should be in place by July 1st. Of course, there are certain parts of that that are challenging, like if there's positions to fill and stuff, so it might take a little while and getting ramped up. But it's exciting that we're going to be able to open this to more people. And I just wanted to say that, this may be one of those areas in which we really want to think about as a activity, a place to focus to reduce disparities by including work towards offering self-determination when people have no POS. And it seems like due to a lack of providers that we may want to look at whether this offers more opportunities for people. So, yeah.
So this was actually someone's question in the chat, is if there are zero POS, how are budgets, individual budgets developed? And our individual budgets are developed, again, based on our traditional model procedures and policies. So someone with zero POS can still meet with their case manager and express what the need is. The case manager with the family then works to identify what supports or services are available in the traditional model. And so once they've concluded their assessments, then they could go ahead and draft the individual budget based on that assessment determination. So even if someone has $0 in expenditures over the previous 12 months because they haven't been able to access a service or support in their language, in their primary language, so to speak, then we could still identify the need for the service and draft the individual budget using that assessment. So there's no requirement for a POS to be in place for someone to be in self-determination or for a budget to be drafted. But we do have to draft individual budgets based on our traditional model policies and procedures. Does that help to answer that question?
To some extent, I agree. But on the other hand, if there is no language person out there in the mainstream, right? Because there's very little bilingual providers out there. And so how can we develop a budget? Basically, it is many of them maybe family member, you know, to do the work, and or any friends who speak the language to do the work. Yeah. So this and to make a budget with that, it is, in my opinion, is challenging. And I understand the traditional case management model in writing up POS and all that. Yeah, but on the other hand, these things are not something you can use a cookie cutter to do it.
No, that's exactly right. And I don't think that self-determination or the traditional model is a cookie cutter method of service delivery for everyone. Because everyone has individual needs. But I'll give an example that actually a very recent example. Last week, where we had a family who had the need for respite. And so there was actually a POS in place for the family, but they never used it. So their expenditure report showed 0, maybe 1, you know, $100 or $200 every couple of months. And we asked the family how the service was supporting them or not supporting them. And the family said, you know, it's very difficult to find bilingual providers, and it's very difficult to have them hire on as well. It's very difficult to have them complete the EOR respite, I think was the service process in traditional model. And so so the family spoke to their case manager, and the need is still there for the service. And so they assessed what the appropriate volume was for that family. And even if there has been no spending for the family, the service has still been identified using our traditional model methods. And so that's what we're able to then adjust the budget for as an unmet need, because actually this was a service that was identified in their IPP that we just were not able to meet because of language barriers. So it was still included in their individual budget, even though for the most part, their spending had been mostly 0 for over the last 12 months. And so now the potential exists for the family to utilize those funds to find a provider who is more appropriate for them. Was there going to be a question?
I was going to say thank you so much, Jennifer, for coming in and presenting to our group about self-determination. I think it'll be really to both of our committees to collaborate, because we have a lot of points of our work in common. So I will go ahead and keep in touch with you to see as things develop. When you come back, can you come back and kind of present and see where things are now when the self-determination program opens up to all regional center clients? So thank you so much.
That would be great.
Yeah, let me see. I see one question here. Let's see. And we're just going to take a couple of minutes because I know there are other. Lourdes, you have your hand up.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I'm an independent facilitator in Los Angeles, but I am getting requests from your families and they're willing to take an independent facilitator that is not familiar with your service area
Mhm.
because they feel that they are meeting a lot of barriers getting services. So I'm here because I really don't want to do a disservice to those families and take them as my clients, because I will not be able to provide the same quality services as I'm able to provide in Los Angeles, because I'm familiar with my city, with the resources, with the genetic resources. It's not the same thing to do an online search for genetic resources than to be able to have access to them through different families. So I'm just here to just letting you know that that's how I have 7 requests so far from your regional center families. And I think you should be able to know that that is happening. I don't believe that bringing somebody who's not familiar with the area will help, but that's how families feel. So I'm just letting you know.
Thank you, Lourdes, for your comment.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? When you're sharing, Lourdes, that families are expressing challenges, do you know around what part of their transition?
Yes, they express that every time they have had a request to their service coordinator, the answer has been no services or to go to fair hearing. And the families do not know how to prepare for fair hearing. So some of them have actually lost fair hearings, and they were really stressed out, very mortified for the process of fair hearing. And they are searching for either advocates, independent facilitators, people to build up their services, because they felt that there is a huge difference of services between some of your different ethnic groups because of what they heard before. So I'm not promising that I will get services. I'm just promising that I am familiar with the services and that families should be able to get services if they have unmet needs. And that's what the families are saying, that they have felt that their unmet needs that being expressed and have not been addressed to traditional service. They want to see if somebody from a different city is able to come in and help on that. And I feel that's not my place, because I will not be able to provide the resources as somebody who's local.
So Lourdes, Jennifer Castaneda is the self-determination specialist here. And we also like to have them talk to her, or you can reach out to me if there's any of these situations. Because I'll tell you, our area, we have very few fair hearings around services in the course of a year. So I'd like to kind of get to the bottom of this, because it's very important to us that we are addressing people's unmet needs and trying to figure out how we can work together on these things. So really, I appreciate that. Appreciate hearing this concern, and both Morena, Sheridan, myself are all on our SDP committee, local advisory committee, and Arthur. And so we'd really like people to reach out to us. We have those meetings once a month, and people can join those as well. And we're going to be doing more as we move into June. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you,
Yes.
Lisa.
Thank you, Lourdes, for bringing this up to our attention. And so we are going to go ahead and move on to our next agenda item. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for taking the time to come and present. And we will keep in touch to see how the two committees can collaborate.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me. And I'm
Have a
going to
good
stick
night.
around if it's okay with you.
Sure, you're welcome. Yes, of
Yeah.
course. And so we'll go ahead and move on to, let's see here. So we've had a short discussion about self-determination. We're gonna go ahead and move on to reports. Any updates from the different agencies that are present? And I understand, Esther, you wanted to provide an update.
You mean the ALN project, right?
Right.
Yeah.
What you said it was.
So Lynn and Beatrice are prepared to to share with us. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Lynn and Beatrice.
Hi, yes, this is Beatrice Lee. I'm the Executive Director for Diversity and Health Training Institute. We just want to prepare a really short presentation to update you all on this project that I know Esther Wong has been telling you all about for a number of months since we've been started. So this program is funded by DDS, and we want to update you on the direct support professionals and the fast track training. But before we do that, I just want to give a couple of slides just to give an overview of the program, and then I'll have Lynn talk about the program. So Lynn, again, you're showing all the other slides too from your screen.
Does it work now?
Yeah, now it's better. Okay. Yeah. So this program is really about helping to improve these the number of referrals to RCD and to work with the service providers to build to better serve consumers that are from the Asian, Southeast Asian communities. Next slide. So we have three program strategies. One is really to work with the IDD service providers, those that are mainstream, that are having challenges, hiring a workforce that really are able to serve monolingual populations, particularly the Asian communities, and by helping them to bring on that workforce. So we're trying to collaborate with them to create a workforce pipeline of direct support professionals and respite care workers. So that's our strategy. Number two, we offer the training, and we
No, I'm just adjusting it.
which is a coursework that is in collaboration with an adult education provider, actually, and then placing them in the various IDD employers for work experience, and hopefully that will lead to employment. Our third strategy is to actually to reach the community, to inform them about the services that the regional center offers, and help address some of the barriers that many of these individuals and their families are experiencing that prevents them from accessing services or not really understanding what their rights are and what services are available to them. So that's our third strategy. And I'm going to now let Lynn give you an update on our actual training that we have just completed recently.
Yes, so for our direct support professionals, we have recruited 12 Chinese and Vietnamese bilingual into our training program. So all of them completed 30 hours of direct support professional course with Castro Valley Adult School, and also received 40 hours of hands-on experience with different IDD service providers. So far right now, we have successfully placed 3 participants into agency and have completed their first 40 hours of hands-on experience. We also have 3 other participants that are in the process of working and complete their internship hours. We have 2 participants in the onboarding process for internship at different agency, and 1 is in the preferring process. For our respite, fast track respite training, we have this training because of the high needs of family during COVID-19. So we recently we started outreach for this new group. We started doing outreach in early May, and by now we have received 2 applications. Both of them are Chinese speaking, and we have successfully referred one of them to agency, and they are in the process of getting the interviews and everything. Yes.
So that's a quick update. Any
Can
questions?
I add something?
Yes, Esther, please.
Yeah, in fact that we have we first trained daycare provider to work for a self-determination case.
Yeah.
So question, so this is specific for respite, correct?
No, for everything, that was the plan, but the respite was in high need, so that's why we make it a fast track. You know, we have video developed. People can go on the video and get trained. Yeah. Lynn, you can elaborate.
Yes, So we have tried different versions of the training. At the beginning, we have online section and we explain to them about respite care and everything. And then we also understand that different service providers, they have different training for participant. So we have changed our models from online training to self-study course, and then we provide job coaching at the same time so that they have the information of how to provide respite care to IDD individuals, as well as they have the professional skills when they go to work at different agencies.
So if I may ask, currently, how many individuals have gone through your training program in, the different areas?
So for the direct support professionals, we have we recruited 12 participants. Some of them have dropped out because of family reason. So by now we have 9 that we have referred to different agencies. Yes, and for the fast track respite training, by now we have, including this group right now, we have about 5 participants. The number can be changed a little bit, but we have around 5 participants for the fast track respite group. Yeah.
And have any of them already completed the course and actually started to provide the service?
Yes, for the direct support professional groups, we have 3 participants that are working at Isbay Innovations, Pacific Home Care, and also Manuel's Home Care. We also have participants are doing internship at Friends with Children of Special Needs or Isbay Services. Yeah.
I have a
Excellent.
question. I'm sorry. Did you say you were already vendored with the regional center? And what areas are you serving?
No, Elvia, we are not vendor. We are running a project called Asian Resource Network. Yeah.
Yes,
So the respite is, so they're being connected with agencies. And then the
Yes.
agencies are like, you get connected with EOR agencies to provide respite in the Chinese and Vietnamese languages. Is that right?
Yes, they are not necessarily EOR. They can be employee of the respite agency.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Any other questions?
I just want to say congratulations to Asian Resource Network, and thank you so much for developing much needed bilingual workforce for our Asian communities.
Thank you, Esther.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for bringing
Thank you.
presentation
Thank
to
you.
us. Thank you. So now if we can continue with updates from any other groups represented in our participants, you're welcome to do so now.
Yeah, like I shared earlier, just want to briefly share once again that we are very fortunate to have received another year of the DDS Reducing Disparity Grant, once again focusing on the same population that we have focused for the past 4 years, Cantonese speaking and Vietnamese speaking adult consumers, as well as Filipino adult consumers residing in Alameda County. Our grants, this current grants focus that will start June 1st, is focusing on helping participants to transition into self-determination if they're interested, and also continue to develop culturally responsive and linguistically competent living options for adult consumers from the Asian communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Anybody else have any update that they want to share with us? Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to item number 6 on our agenda, announcements. So if you have any announcements for your particular agency, you're welcome to share that with us now.
quiet group, huh, Morena? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, usually we have, more going on, but I guess we also have, some ups and downs.
Yeah.
In the activities. So yes, well, so that's all our agenda has for today. So unless somebody has anything that they like to share or bring to our attention, I think we're going to adjourn early today for the first time.
I do have one last comment. First of all, I want to thank Kelly Cole from FCSN that we collaborated with Kelly in March, I believe, right? March 30th for a vaccination clinic, at FCSN, and we were able to have about 18 to 20 of participant consumers and family members from our network to go down to Fremont to get the Johnson Johnson shot before it was, paused. That was, and also I just want to share with all of you that, as you may know, May is Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, and I want to call on everyone to stand in solidarity against anti-Asian hate crimes, because during the past year, over 6,600, over 6,000, basically, hate incidents have been reported, and it's really underreported because there are many who are not quite, able to report through like technology, internet. So this is something that our, Asian communities are facing at this point, as we are recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic. We are facing another type of pandemic, and in my agency, as we are contemplating reopening our community-based day program, actually some of our staff as well as families express fear, about going into the community due to now not so much the virus, because almost everyone has been vaccinated, but due to this anti-Asian hate incidents and hate crimes. So this is something that we are facing currently. Yeah.
I actually wanted to add, Esther, thank you for reminding me. Actually, FCSN sponsored the Unity Against Hate National Rally on May 15th. So a bunch of the FCSN staff and even clients and families had come into Fremont to join the rally, and it was a really great rally. All the city of Fremont's officials with representatives were there. So it was really great to see even other nationalities out there to support the Asian people and the Asian community against hate. So we wanted to just thank all those who supported the Asian community. Another announcement I wanted to also make is we are having this, I don't know if all of you already know, but FCSN will be hosting the Special Needs Talent Showcase, and the final competition will be on June 26th from 5 to 7 p.m. We invite all of you to go on our website to get tickets. It's really great because this year, because of the pandemic, even though it's a pandemic and we couldn't, do this kind of event in person, but it was it was a blessing because we were able to turn this event into a national event. So we have, finalists from Japan, Mexico, from the East Coast, and things like that. So, if you are interested in getting a ticket, please go to our website. It's Special Needs Talent Showcase.org. I'll probably go ahead and put that in the chat so you guys can have that information.
Thank you, Kelly.
So thank you. Thank you.
And if I may just remind everybody, our last meeting, we decided to continue working on the 3 different areas of focus of our group of equity in POS expenditure, anti-racism and education, and get together to continue working on developing those goals. In my group, the anti-racism and education, we met on May 17th to discuss some things. We needed to make some decisions about how to continue looking at the data. So we're working on that, and hopefully we'll be able to report pretty soon. And just to remind you that our next Diversity and Equity Committee meeting will be July 26th before the Board of Directors meeting at 5:30 to 6:45. So if there's no one who has anything else to comment or share, let me see, let me check the chat here. Okay, so Kelly is providing the website for the Special Needs Talent Showcase. Thank you, Kelly. So, well, thank you so much for
Thank you.
providing your time to our committee, and have a great evening.